This is Undaunted.Life, a man's podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Let's get into it. You know, Mark Wayne, typically I like to start these interviews by saying something nice or maybe something a little jokey or whatever, but apparently you woke up today and chose violence. Okay, I don't know what it is about the moment you popped up on my screen. Like, what's the deal? Well, like what? Well, like there's wrong side of the bed and then there's whatever you're experiencing right now.
Well, I got on and I had to wait on you, and I made the comment that it's like the song "Waiting."
God forbid you had to wait for the first time or the entire time we've known each other.
But it's worth it because, as I pointed out, I thought your transitioning is going well. I mean, you look.
When you say transitioning, you mean like from front headlock to the back? That's what you mean, like transitioning?
I mean your pronoun transitioning. That one. I mean,
well, my pronouns for the remainder of our relationship are I'm right. So from now on, you are to refer to me as I'm right. So how about that?
This is why I said your transitioning is going well until you said that, and I guess it's not.
Nope.
Because you sound just like my wife.
I'm checking all the boxes, sir, but we need to check a few boxes ourselves here before you have to get on to the business of the Senate.
All right.
So, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, but apparently Joe Biden's been waking up on the wrong side of the bed for a while. But unfortunately for Joseph R. Biden and the Biden family, it has been announced that he has prostate cancer that is stage 4 and it is in his bones. That is a terrible predicament that he is in. All kidding aside, I am praying for Joe Biden and the Biden family. If he has not put his faith in Christ, I hope he does so before his condition gets any worse. All the things, I certainly wish him and his family well in this very, very difficult time. And at the same time, I think we need to talk about the fact that the media and the Democratic Party has told us for years to don't believe your lying eyes. There's nothing wrong with Joe Biden. He's sharper than he's ever been. But at this point, the cover-up of his mental decline wasn't so bad because we could all see it. But it seems like at this point, considering the evidence that we have, is that his cancer was concealed from the American people when he was in office, which would make it one of the biggest political scandals potentially in the history of this country. And I don't say that hyperbolically. I've had some time to think about it. I think that might be true. And so I would just like to get your thoughts on it, because I know people are talking about doing congressional investigations and all these different things, and maybe that stuff will happen and maybe that's good. But just whenever this was made public, what were your thoughts and what are your thoughts now?
Well, first of all, same thing, right? I don't want anybody to suffer from cancer. I'm not a big fan of the Biden family or the Biden administration. I think they will go down as, honestly, not just saying this, I think they'll go down as probably one of the most corrupt administrations that we've ever had, and definitely in modern history. And I've read every single president's biographies and studied every one of them. Really until the Biden and Obama era. I haven't really studied them. And so I don't say that lightly. I mean, I would, there was a pretty big cover up with Woodrow Wilson. But I don't think our history is going to show that this is pretty bad. Now let's just talk about the diagnosis. I don't think there's any way in the world that they didn't know. The president has the best medical care and has watched more closely, medically speaking, than anyone in the world.
Right.
Before he takes a foreign trip, before he goes on a tough schedule, before he meets with dignitaries, they are checking his health. When they leave, they check his health. They do blood samples constantly to see if he might have been poisoned when he was overseas. And that is so easy to see that there's something wrong with your blood cells. That is a very easy cancer to identify. And then to be that late in diagnosis, there's no way that his physician didn't see that. And if he did miss it, then that doctor needs to be brought up on malpractice charges.
Sure. Because
you can talk to any oncologist, you can talk to any family doctor, you can talk to really any physician, and they'll tell you that if you're getting regular checkups and you're getting your blood checked on a regular basis, this would be easily to be identified. And I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying. And you can talk to Ronnie Jackson, who was a physician to Obama and Clinton both, and he'll tell you the type of test, this Congressman Jackson, Ronnie Jackson, and he'll tell you the kind of tests they go through. This, without question, should have been caught, or it was caught, and they didn't tell the American people. Now, considering that they covered his cognitive behavior up for 2 years, considering the fact that he never met with his cabinet the last 2 years in office. That doesn't mean he didn't have one-on-one meetings with them, but he never met with his cabinet in the last 2 years. He was consistently not receiving daily briefings. They openly said now that they were keeping him from his cabinet. Like, it's not me. That's what his own office now is reporting, that they purposely kept him away from his cabinets. You go, why? Okay, so we knew his cognitive behavior was declining. We knew he had cancer, and just, I guess we have to assume, right? Because we weren't there, but this is why the congressional oversight should probably be done. And I'm not real big on going back and rehashing the past, but in something like this, since it was such a large cover-up, since this was the President of the United States, since this did affect national security, this could essentially, and I'm not saying you can go back and impeach him, but this could be put on the line of treason. And I'm if this is as big as what it sounds like it could be, and I'm not a conspiracy person. You know, you and I, Kyle, have talked about this multiple times. I don't chase conspiracies. I deal with truths. And I don't like dealing with assumptions. On this one, though, you kind of have to do an investigation into it. Because if, as I said, if they were definitely covering up his cognitive behavior, which the media is now squealing like a pig stuck in a trap about it. You have the cancer that came out because the Blair tapes were released, and I don't think that was accidental. I think that 100% that was Blair tapes are replaced, or Hearst tapes are released. Let's release cancer because it changes the subject and gets the tapes off the front line. So why did it happen? Because there was no possible way with this cancer and with his cognitive behavior, he was ever going to be able to serve 4 more years. No way. If they knew that, what was the purpose? Who was calling the shots? Maybe we underestimated Kamala Harris. Maybe we 100% underestimated her influence in the White House. Maybe we underestimated her ability to get to the staff, who was all too quick to pull the trigger on her being the candidate instead of actually going through and having someone that could possibly win be the candidate. Maybe this woke DEI administration was so focused on having the very first Republican or female president that they were willing to put the Biden family through this just so he would have serious health issues and either A, not be able to finish his term, and therefore the vice president would become the president and would be likely to be reelected to a second term, or they were hoping that he wasn't able to finish for another reason because he passed away in office. I truly, just by following the facts that I know, I lean to believe that that's not a conspiracy theory. I lean to believe that that was their plan. I don't know how else you can explain it.
Yeah, I don't tend to lend my attention and energy to conspiracy theories either, but much like with COVID in 2020 and all the things that you were basically kicked off of YouTube and fired from your job for saying in 2020, 2021, almost all of that has come out to be true. And there were a bunch of things that just smelled and looked weird, like why in the world are they doing a debate so early, right? Well, unless you wanted Joe Biden to go out there and basically die on national television, and then it's like, okay, we got to get him out here. You create that groundswell. And yeah, it seemed like they moved on pretty quick to their chosen candidate. They didn't have the open convention or any of those types of things.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just go to the open. It was too late to have a primary.
Right.
But they could have had an open convention where you could have had Newsom go out and give his spiel.
Sure.
You could have Hakeem Jeffries go out and give his spiel. You could have had any of the senators, Bernie Sanders, AOC, you could have any of them go out and give their spiel, and they could have picked the person at the convention. But no, this party deemed their next person, and she had at the time worse numbers than Joe Biden.
Right.
And that's why I said that it didn't make any sense. That was absolutely the best possible person they could have picked for us to run against. But I think they were so bent on having her in office one way or the next that all their planning and all their ability to keep his health secret was going to go up in smoke because of how poorly his performance was, that they didn't have a choice but to crown her the next presidential hopeful for the Democrat Party.
Hey guys, real quick. Very early on in Undaunted.Life, I knew I wanted to partner with a meat delivery service, but I didn't know which one to do. So I tried out several different ones, and here's the thing that I found out about some of the most popular brands that you've heard of before. These are people that are sending you stuff that is produced here in the United States, but every single month you might be getting beef from a different farm. And so one month your box may be full of amazing beef, and the very, very next month you're going to get stuff that isn't up to snuff and stuff that you don't want to feed yourself or your family. And so I wanted to partner with a farm, with an operation, with a cattle producer that is giving you the same high quality beef every single month. And that's why I want you to use the official beef delivery partner of Undaunted.Life, Primal Beef. Primal Beef is a cattle operation owned and operated by Sean Glass. He's a retired Navy SEAL that partnered with Jocko Willink, yes, that Jocko Willink, to launch Primal Beef. So what makes Primal Beef different from the other beef delivery companies? It's a combo of the following. It's all American Black Angus cattle. The beef comes from one farm, and that's in Virginia's Shenandoah Valley. The beef is all natural, no hormones ever, no antibiotics ever, no mRNA ever. After slaughter, the entire carcass is dry aged and then hand cut by artisan butchers and then flash frozen to ensure that it maintains tenderness, marbling, and flavor. And here's another cool thing. For every box sold, Primal Beef donates meat directly to a member of America's Special Operations Forces through the C4 Foundation. So you can take pride in knowing that your purchase will help put literal food on the table for America's finest warriors. Are you salivating yet? If not, it's probably because you're a communist. Don't be a communist and try Primal Beef out today by going to www.primalbeef.com. That's primalbeef.com. Use the promo code Kyle to get $25 off your first order. Again, that's primalbeef.com. Promo code Kyle, Kyle, to get $25 off your first order. One, if you want to take it this way, what a nefarious thing to do. A woman who's literally never received a vote in a presidential race because she pulled out before she received any votes in the Democratic primary, famously. She basically, before that, you were basically going to get her into office without the Democrats of the country having any say on it. And so as we wrap up here, I'll make this the last question. But you look at the Democratic Party right now, and I mean, guys, things can change on a dime, right? They can change on an absolute dime. But there doesn't seem to be that heir apparent. Bernie Sanders is certainly too old. Kamala Harris is still out there. You've got Cory Booker. You have J.B. Pritzker. You've got Pete Buttigieg, who's somehow a thing. And you've got all these people. But when you look at polling that looks down the road of who would potentially represent the Democrats in 2028, I can't believe we're even talking about it, AOC is leading most of that. She would still be in her 30s. And, of course, she's ripe for the picking when it comes to stupid things that she says out loud when it comes for the conservative media. But if things go south with the United States economy, if things go south on a foreign policy perspective or something like that, is it impossible to see a scenario where Bernie Sanders throws his full support behind AOC, AOC ascends to the top of the ticket, and then actually beats a J.D. Vance or a Marco Rubio or whoever else would be representing the Republican Party there? I don't necessarily want to, talk about the 2028 election because there's a bunch of things that happened before that. But what's your read on the current state of the Democratic Party that seems to be in disarray for the first time in a while?
Okay, well, the Democrat Party 100% can change, and they've been able to. But what's more likely is that the Republican Party self-implodes. We are really, 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 really good at killing ourselves. Our message resonates. We're where the American people want us to be. But if we can't deliver, then they're like, throw the bums out. And you can't blame them for doing that. the ability for the Democrat Party to change their foundation is almost impossible. Their foundation is built on this DEI woke socialist movement, and
Right.
you have to go no farther than to realize that the two open people that claim to be a socialist is AOC and Bernie Sanders, and they're leading the Democrat Party right now. And the
Right.
person that's leading the Senate right now is Elizabeth Warren, not Chuck Schumer. Elizabeth Warren is the one leading the Senate. So you think of how radical and how left the party has went. And so unless they get new leadership, that's where they're at. But we can 100%, the Republican Party can 100% put them in power if we want to use a purity test every time a bill is passed, and every time you make a vote, and every time we go to an election. And what I mean by a purity test is we allow perfection to get in the way of good. And sometimes good is best you can do up here in Congress. And if people say, why are you accepting good? Well, why did I accept 70% of some things I negotiated on? I won 110% when I negotiated any business deal, but I would also negotiate down to 70%. And I'd walk away at 69 because that 70% is better than nothing. 70% keeps my bills paid and gets my guys working. Yes, I'm more profitable if I get 110%, but that's part of the negotiation. But if we don't agree with you 100% of the time, you're a rhino.
Right. Well, let me actually ask about that and just tell your lovely staff that is just off camera to give me a little bit, give me 2 more minutes or 2 or 3 more minutes here, okay?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
So the purity test thing.
We'll tell Fox to wait on you because Fox is my next interview, but
they don't matter. They don't matter. They haven't mattered in a long time. But at this point, the purity test thing, I find that to be so interesting because guess what? As a podcaster, I get to be pure as the driven snow. I get to be consistent because you know why? I never have to vote on anything. I never have to negotiate legislation. I don't have to do anything. So I can look at you or any other Republican that doesn't do what I would do if I was there, and I can castigate you and call you all these names and say that you're, Republican in name only, all the things. But when it comes to people actually casting votes that way with the slimmest of slim majorities in the House and in the Senate, I just wonder how hard it is for a majority whip or for, one of the leaders in one of the chambers to get some of these people in line, because I get it. Ideological purity helps when it comes to your particular election because you can say, here's all the boxes I checked. But then there's the business of the country. And up to this point, Donald Trump has gotten less laws passed, more executive orders than anybody in history, and less laws passed in the first 120 days or so in history as well. So it's kind of an issue.
Yeah, so let's just talk about this right now. Republican from California is going to be different than a Republican from Oklahoma, and a Republican from Maine is going to be different than a Republican from Arkansas. But it takes all. We have 54 Republicans. It takes 51 to do reconciliation. It's going to take 60 to do a budget to do so. Any of our appropriations, unless we want to operate off a CR, it's going to take 60. That means we got to negotiate with at least 6 Democrats to get them to come over. But our founding fathers also didn't want a ruling class. So that's why we have different personalities, and we are all supposed to represent our states and our backyards. And so we're supposed to debate. And as we go through the debate, you can have the best idea in the world. Ron John, Rick Scott, Josh Hawley, Jim Jordan, Andy Harris, Speaker Mike Johnson, John Thune. It doesn't matter who you are, your vote is still only one. And any idea you have, great, bring it forth, sell it. You've got to get at least 51, most of the time 60 in the Senate, and you got to get 218 in the House. Now, we don't just have the privilege of working with our chamber. You got to get it across the other chamber too. Takes both chambers. So therefore, you start negotiating, and the bill starts out perfect. But as you negotiate, it drops down to good. And sometimes it drops down to okay. So when you go to the floor to vote, you have 2 choices. Let's talk about the reconciliation bill. We have been negotiating the reconciliation bill since the November election. We knew reconciliation was going to happen before Trump was even sworn in office. We were already having meetings and conferences about reconciliation. Everybody since November has had an opportunity to put every idea they want on the table. Now, your idea is your idea. It's your responsibility to carry your idea. So once we get everything in the bill and we bring it to the floor, you have two choices, yes or no. A yes vote means that we're going to change law. We're going to change the policies of Biden, and we're going to start putting in Trump-era policies. A no vote or a no vote, like a no vote, or you just don't vote at all, which was happened yesterday. You had 3 people not vote at all yesterday or I guess this morning in the House. A no vote says, I would rather stay with the Biden-era administration policies. That's your only choice. It can't be the bill's not good enough. It's the best bill that the chamber could bring to the floor. And that's what happens to almost every single bill we have up here. It goes through all the process, all the negotiations. It's a package of everybody's idea. It comes to the floor and you have A or B. There is no alternative. Alternatives was as the bill was working through the process. And a lot of people judge you based on just that one vote. And that's where we get Rhino. I have Susan Collins, for example. She get land blasted by our party. Okay, well, she makes a lot of votes that I don't agree with either. But you give me another Republican that's going to be elected in Maine. Not happening.
Right.
It's absolutely not happening. And she is with us on some of the very important votes. I will take Susan Collins, who votes with us 69 or 70% of the time, than a Democrat that's going to vote 100% of the time against us. So you decide which one's better. Having Susan there or kicking her out, finding somebody that can beat her in a primary but cannot win the general. And now we have a Democrat sitting there, and now we have a guaranteed no vote against us forever.
Well, speaking of rhinos, you got to run to Fox News. So, we didn't get you on here for a couple of months, and here you've been on here twice in 1 month. So that I think that's absolutely a new record. But the one request I have for you is next time you come on here, you got to chill out. You got to chill out with a little bit of that angry energy, okay? Because last time, you know how many people have said we need to have a charity wrestling match, me and you, after that little kerfuffle we had last time?
Oh, lose. You would lose so bad. I would give you 3 rounds and guarantee you couldn't take me down.
3 rounds? 3 MMA rounds?
Huh? Whatever.
3 MMA
we'll
rounds?
Go periods, that's it. But we'll go 3 rounds. That way we can get in the cage. That way I can punch you every now and then too, because I need to get frustration out.
Hey, well, there's plenty of people in the Senate that you could punch. Why you got to punch one of your constituents?
Because they would sue me. You can take it.
Okay, yeah, you're probably right, and I might have a chance to dodge it.
If you come to DC, I'm bringing in a guy in that's going to start rolling with me twice a week, and he's a very, very talented and highly decorated jiu-jitsu guy that you would know who he is, and he's going to start with me on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Text me off air, but just saying. Some Democratic staffers did some really weird things inside of the Senate. Maybe y'all could just put some mats down and kind of like regain, the.
Don't even put me in the same sentence as that.
What? What are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm just saying we have to do something to get it back, the sanctity.
Entertaining that conversation. You can't compare those two. Okay, that's you can't even compare those two.
I will tell you that is one of the most inside baseball political jokes I've ever made in my life. If you know, you know. Mark Wayne, we'll talk again soon.
All right, see you, brother.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Wherever you're listening to this, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a positive 5-star review. If you want me to come speak live at your event or on your podcast, just shoot me an email to info@Undaunted.Life. That's info@Undaunted.Life. Follow us on Instagram and like us on Facebook, and check out our website for everything else, including how to donate to keep more content like this coming your way. Just go to www.Undaunted.Life. And as always, we want to thank the band Holy Name for allowing us to use their music for our content. The music on this podcast is their song Perpetua, which is off their self-titled debut album on Face Down Records. The links are in the description. I'm your host, Kyle Thompson. Remember, keep pushing back darkness, keep forging spiritual, mental, and physical resilience, keep seeking the Lion of Judah.